Hello and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We have a full house here for this very exciting webinar that we are doing jointly with our partner Oracle. I am Sangeeta, Senior Marketing Manager for Jade Global, and I'll be moderating today's session. The webinar is going to be for about 40 minutes, and then we'll leave around 10 to 15 minutes for the question and answer session. We'll open the session later for any questions you may have, so feel free to type that area, and we'll try to address as many as we can. On this webinar, we have from Oracle David, and from Jade Global we have Mohan. Mohan leads the finance practice in the enterprise application group at Jade Global and has been working with Oracle applications since early 90s. He has an accounting major and has led multiple implementations of various EBS versions in upgrades and new implementations. His focus is business process assessments, improvements, and end-to-end process automation. David has been with Oracle for 19 years and is the Oracle product owner for the Fusion Accounting Hub reporting. He's a regular presenter at Oracle Open World and OUG conferences and has been blogging on Oracle Financials. So now the next slide, I'd like to tell you a little bit about our company. Jade Global is an Oracle Platinum Cloud Standard partner. We are into advisory, integration, testing, cloud and consulting services, business solutions, and IT outsourcing. We are headquartered in San Jose, California, with offices in San Diego, Atlanta, Reading, UK, in Pune, Noida, and Hyderabad in India. For more information, please visit our website, jadeglobal.com. I'll hand it over to Mohan and David now, who will take you through the agenda and present today's session. Over to you, Mohan and David.
Thank you, Rashida. Before we start with the session, I just want to kind of quickly go over a couple of points on the agenda that we're going to cover at this presentation. We'll talk about the presenters first, a little background about what we're going to talk about, then dive into the introduction of the solution, which is the cloud reporting service. And what it can do, some caveats, and then Jade differentiators, and also the implementation considerations. I'd like to present David, who will talk a bit about himself, and then I will do the same, and then we can jump into the meat of the presentation. David?
Thanks, Mohan. So good morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are today. Yeah, my name is David Hames. I'm with Oracle Product Development. I've been here, as Rashida said, for 19 years now. I'm based out of Redwood Shores at Oracle's HQ. I am responsible for e-business suite, general ledger, and related products, as well as our Fusion cloud service. And in particular, one of my big focuses is the Fusion Accounting Hub Reporting Cloud, which is the service we're going to talk about today. I've been blogging for many years now on Oracle Financials, so you can find me there or on Twitter. I present at Open World most years, and I also enjoy being the Oracle liaison for the General Ledger Special Interest Group with the Oracle Apps User Group. So I'll be talking in more detail about this service later, but first I'll hand to Mohan to introduce himself and introduce what the service is about.
Thank you, David. Good morning, good evening. I appreciate you people taking some time to attend the session. My name is Mohan Iyer, and like Sangeeta said, I head the finance practice at Jade Global for ERP solutions. I've been working with Oracle applications for about 20 plus years, and have been working at various levels, financial lead, project management, solution provider, solution architect, and have done multiple full lifecycle implementations of Oracle applications in the past few years. The focus currently that I'm having is on trying to make it easier for people to use the application stack, as well as be able to provide a solution which is end-to-end, process-related solutions rather than just module or product-related. Been working with David for the last 7 years. I head the GL-SIG at the OUG, and we're lucky to have him on board helping us and giving us all the input that we would need to make it an easier transition for people from earlier versions to the latest R12 and then to cloud. What we're going to talk today about is, like I said, a reporting solution that Oracle has had in the market for the last 3 years, or maybe 4. David probably has a better timeline than I do. What's happening in the market today for reporting is primarily there is a multiple set of source data that people report off of. Excel, data warehouse systems, extracts, they all pull that into, primarily in most cases, as is comfortable with most finance users and accounting users, into Excel, and then they do massaging, they do pivot tabling and everything else that they need to do on the Excel data. Not the most efficient way and not the most fastest way to do it, but that's what works. And at the end of the day, they land up with situations where they have probably multiple versions of reports, multiple versions of data coming from different places, and you really don't know which one is correct or which one they should use. And hopefully, in most cases, because people have not come back and said this is completely wrong, they assume that what they have provided is accurate. And in most cases it is. It doesn't mean that what they're providing today is inaccurate. It just may not be the most accurate or the most current version of the data that they're talking about. So that's the current reporting scenarios. And if you look at the image here, what we're talking about is that they use multiple solutions and artifacts or tools to make that happen. Multiple extracts into Excel or into data warehouse systems or into flat files, which then go into cubes, which is shown on the right-hand side here, S-based cubes, and then they do reporting out of that. Having seen that challenge, stepping back into Oracle applications, if you started to work with Oracle applications in the infancy of versions 10.4, 10.3, or even earlier, this is how your report looked like. It was a plain text format, came out in probably a dot matrix or a line printer, and you could read that with a red line or with a ruler to make sure that you've got appropriate spacing so you could read it well. But it was at the bottom of it a text output which you couldn't do much with, and you couldn't actually present this to the real top management. You had to do something else, maybe type this into Excel and then redo it. Come down to a transition in the evolution of those reports into what you get currently in R12, and you actually have something which looks like this. At the bottom, the transition has happened into R12 EBS, probably using Report Manager, which gives you a pretty much nice looking report as compared to what you have seen in the past. And what you get is in Excel columns, actually use templates to make sure that you could put some rules in place which show you negative numbers in parentheses or in square brackets or in red, as you can see here, and you have a capability to also do drill down from here to your base data. That's what's happened probably in the last 15 years, and you've got this enabled this reporting mechanism in probably in the last 5 years or so. Now, what you could do with something that's available in the cloud is get a report something like this, which looks more presentable, more enabled to have, be able to actually present it to the board or to the executive management that they can actually take a look at and see what you're doing. So here's where we're going with this is, how do we enable you with the current scenario where you are on probably R12 EBS and be able to get reports that look like this. And with that, I'm going to hand over to David, who's going to talk you through the phenomenal facilities that you have with the next reporting level that you're going to. Go ahead, David.
Great. So thanks, Mohan. Yeah, and one of the things we want to enable these modern reports, and also you see this slide shows you, these have to be rich reports and available on all platforms, all times, all places from a single source of truth. So that's why we have this nice screen showing the reports on an iPad. So we go to the next slide. I'll give you an overview of what the service is about. So it's called Fusion Accounting Hub Reporting Cloud Service, which I apologize, it's a long mouthful. It's giving you all these features in the cloud so they are readily available to you. So we'll just talk through each of the things you see here. Firstly, you'll have dashboards. So you'll have, dashboards available on the cloud, so it's over the web, and these are all working any browser, any mobile device that you have. The idea is this reporting is self-service, so it's easy for anyone to access. It's secure, and it's not, as you say, it's a single source of truth because it's always live. It saves the emailing of spreadsheets around. And then the center piece here, the multi-dimensional S-based analytics. This is really the key to all the reporting. So this cloud service is going to have all your general ledger balance data that's currently in your e-business suite system. That's all going to be loaded in the cloud into this multi-dimensional S-based cube. And this is the, the market-leading multi-dimensional store that there is. And that allows us to have very fast access to your data. You can have multiple hierarchies. You can view data at any point in the hierarchy immediately. So your reports are super fast, and they have drill down, down the hierarchy, and also you can have multiple hierarchies. So a good example is you could have a cost center hierarchy that is, say, geographically based, and then another hierarchy on the same segment of your chart of accounts, which is management based. And you can view the same data in those two different hierarchies all real time. So no rolling it up in multiple Excel models. You can just switch the hierarchies and view it real time. The other great feature that we provide is the social collaboration. So there is a fully functional social network. So just like you have Yammer or Facebook at work or something, this is a private social network. So it's private collaboration just to the people in your company, but that's fully functioned. All the social conversations, you get that as part of this service. And then finally, we have spreadsheet integration. Now, I should really talk about what that spreadsheet integration means, because it is not just giving you the ability to download data into spreadsheets, and then you have the problems that you have today where you get outdated data in static spreadsheets. This is a tool we call SmartView, which is a plug-in to Excel and will access the multidimensional store in real time. So you can share spreadsheets that show reports. So if you have some data you've pulled into a spreadsheet, you share it. As long as that person has access, they can log in and just click a refresh button, and they know that they have the latest data. And what's even better is, from the spreadsheets, you can look at a balance in GL, and you can drill all the way down from that balance in your spreadsheet to see the balance in the cloud UIs, and then drill all the way down to see the transactions in eBusiness Suite. So I didn't mention that. All these reports allow full drill down into the balances, and then into the balances in your eBusiness Suite General Ledger, and continuing to show you the transactions that are in your eBusiness Suite as well, whether that be a payables invoice or whatever it is that makes up that balance. So we go to the next slide, a little bit about how this sets up. So we talked about this being a cloud service. We tried to make it very, very easy to set up, because with a cloud service, people want a quick return on investment. So we have automated the process of doing the setup. You will need to install one patch on eBusiness Suite, which gives you a new form and some new processes. You'll fill out your registration, your cloud registration information on this form in eBusiness Suite, and then you're just going to select which ledgers you want to report on in the cloud. You click a button, and then that configuration will all happen for you. So then all your data, what's happening is all your data, your chart of account structure, your ledger structure, and all that metadata that's in eBusiness Suite is being loaded to the cloud, and the Essbase Cube is being configured for you. That's all done in the background by automated processes that you don't have to do any work. Then if we show the next slide, you'll see the next thing we do is we then generate a set of example reports for you as a starting point, and that's, you're ready to go. You can see your data, you've got some reports to get started in, you can start using the Smart View and start analyzing your data. So it's really quite quick to get this up and running. It's not a long implementation because we've actually automated the load of the setup to the cloud, and the load of the data is largely automated. You get some example reports, and you can see your data quite quickly. So if we go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more detail about what we're doing. So this service, as I said, provides reporting and analytics for eBusiness Suite. It's your general ledger balance data. So that means that all we're moving up to the cloud is your general ledger balances. You can slice and dice and do your analytics and reporting on that and use all the, frankly, awesome reporting tools that we have. It will be there. Second thing to note is it's pre-built integration. So this is productized. There's no integration that you or a partner needs to build. Oracle provides the integration to push your eBusiness Suite data there. It does the initial setup and the load of as far back as you want. You can pick to go back 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, whatever you want. We load all that history in, and then we will incrementally, every time or as often as you want, we will load it. So we only push incremental balances, so it means it's very fast. Typically the load will take, a minute, 2 minutes, maybe even less than a minute, depending on how much general ledger activity there's been since the last push. Customers will typically push this at least once a day, maybe once an hour, even less during period close. You can do it if you want. It's a scheduled process, so it will just run. It will pick up any new balance data that's happened since the last push and push it to the cloud. It's very fast. You don't have a downtime. You don't have to, you don't have to come out of your business suite, and also you don't have to, because these are just incremental pushes of data. It's all done in about 1 minute, so there's no big load of a data warehouse or anything like that that typically people are experiencing today. So that's all the pre-built integration. That's all the product that you get part of this service. What you will do is you will have no disruption. So that the whole idea here is that you can get quick value because you get the additional reporting, but you're not going to disrupt users doing the day-to-day work in eBusiness Suite. All your transaction processing, all your journal processing, that continues to happen on eBusiness Suite. So no disruption to that, and no concerns there. You just have the additional reporting and analytics sits on top, and that's what you're getting. The final bullet, I always like to push this a lot. You do get a fully featured social platform. It's called Oracle Social Network, and you can use that to, it has what we call a social object. So if you have a report, you can actually have social conversations just like you would on a Facebook post, except instead of a Facebook post, this is a report. So you start a report, it has like a wall, and people can comment on it. You can even do stuff like highlight numbers in the report and add comments to it. So it's really a pretty good collaborative tool that you get as part of this service that you can use if you want. Next slide. Okay, question people always get to, okay, how does this work? So I talked about it being seamless and out of the box and there's no work to do. I also talked about it being very fast. So for people who want to know a little bit more technically about how we do it, I've got this diagram here on the right. So it all uses web services. So eBusiness Suite will, as I say, will basically gather up, the process will run there. It will gather up all the data it needs, and it will call a SOAP-based web service. So it's industry standard, secure web service. to send all the data needed to the cloud. Then the drill down that I mentioned, so when you're investigating a balance and you slice and dice and you drill down to an individual GL balance, you can then drill from that and it will actually launch eBusiness Suite in your browser and bring up the balance in eBusiness Suite. Then you can drill from there into the journal, into the transaction from whichever subledger it's come from. So you're able to get from a very highly summarized view in, a dashboard, in an FR report, wherever, or in the SmartView Excel plugin, slice and dice, review the balances, but at the end of the day, you can always drill down and see the specific transactions in eBusiness Suite and make up that. So it's full visibility. Initially, the push from eBusiness Suite, the initial web service calls push all the chart of account structure, the segment values, and the initial changes. We push the hierarchy we find in eBusiness Suite initially, but any changes going forward in the hierarchy do not get pushed to the cloud. So let me talk about why that is. That's because the hierarchy support in this cloud service is far superior to what you have in eBusiness Suite. So we would definitely recommend, and typically customers do this, they take this as an opportunity to put better hierarchies that they're maybe using already offline in Excel or in whatever other system they're using, to load those into this cloud service. We have a spreadsheet loader, so once you get them loaded, maintaining them is pretty easy. And you might want to have either clean up the hierarchies or add multiple hierarchies that you can't really do very well in eBusiness Suite, but you can do much easier here. So that's why that happens. So that will be there. Then another thing to note, the final bullet point says schedule periodic incremental upload for balances only. So we upload the balances, not the individual journals. So any change to the balance will go, and that's what makes it fast. So because we're just loading any change in the balance up to the cloud for analytics, you get that done in seconds or minutes. We will, if you add, let's say, a new segment value in eBusiness Suite, so you add a new natural account, when we're doing the incremental balance upload, we'll detect that and we will push that as well. So ongoing maintenance of your chart of accounts, you continue to do that in eBusiness Suite too. You continue to do your day-to-day work in eBusiness Suite, and all of that gets pushed to the cloud. The only piece that wouldn't is hierarchies. Everything else is automatically pushed to the cloud. And sorry, one more thing on this slide that I forgot to mention. We use standard eBusiness Suite technology, so there's nothing here to worry about. It's all there already. You have this in your eBusiness Suite 12.1.3 or 12.2.4. It uses the workflow, what's called the service invocation framework. It's all standard eBusiness Suite technology stack, so you've got nothing to worry about there. It's all very standardized. So that's the only patch you're going to apply is a small GL patch that has these processes. So next slide. Okay, as I typically do, I've talked about a lot of this ahead of time, but I'll just summarize the functionality that we have. Key things here, we sync the GL balances, so I've pushed that a lot. We call it incremental load, so it's very fast. You can do it every few minutes if you want, or every hour. We have two things we call account monitor and account inspector. These are dashboards that are available to you. The account monitor is really very interesting actually, because that allows you to set an alert and say, for example, if this particular account is more than 5% up on either last year or over budget or all these comparison options, then show a dashboard. So it's like a KPI to show you alerts about which accounts exceed certain criteria that you set up. And then Account Inspector is a way to slice and dice through the account data up and down the hierarchies. So these are two tools out of the box that you'll have access to. All your primary ledgers and secondary ledgers can be uploaded to the cloud. We do not have translated ledger balances moved. You would have to create that translated ledger in the cloud itself and run the translation process there. That's pretty straightforward, just like you do in eBusiness Suite today, so you can do that if you want. The other thing that you have functionality is we have the allocation engine, which is completely new in Fusion, and that's available for you to use as part of this service, and then consolidations. So consolidations, because we have all the data for your chart of accounts and ledgers in an Essbase cube, you have effectively real-time consolidation. So if you create a ledger set with all your ledgers in, that will be, every time you post a journal, the consolidated balance will be updated in real time. So there's no offline consolidation. So we call that real-time reporting only consolidation, because the consolidation is done real time at every post and you don't need to run additional processes. So that's something that a lot of people want to take advantage of as part of this service. We talked a little bit about the reporting tools, but I'll just go over those again. We have something called Hyperion Financial Reports, which is the reports that we showed earlier. Nice graphics, you can expand up and down the hierarchy, full drill. That's a great reporting tool designed specifically for financial reports. There's a client install for authoring the reports, but then all the reports are accessible via any standard browser, Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, and they will work on mobile platforms, you know, your tablet, your smartphone, whatever you want to view them on. The second tool you get is SmartView, which is the Excel plugin, which lets you access the data, balance data in the cloud through Excel with full drill down, and also has full security as well. And then you get something called OTBR reports, which is Oracle Transactional Business Intelligence reporting too. And then finally, just to reiterate, you get this fully featured social network, which is called Oracle Social Network. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so just to kind of circle back and show you this nice screenshot here of the report on a mobile device. This is just one example. We give you some great reporting tools, great visualization tools, you know, visually rich output with full drill down, real-time conversations using the social platform, and also, as I mentioned earlier, you have this capability to view documents and annotate them. So you can add notes to the reports or documents and share them with other people in your organization. Okay, so if we go to the next slide, I'm going to now get to the piece that I've talked mostly about good news, but there's a few things that you can't do at this point, and it's better that I make that clear now. So I always like to talk about what you can't do, just so you know you have full disclosure. So first thing is, this is designed to work with one eBusiness Suite instance. If you have multiple eBusiness Suite instances, that automatic sync and automatic load will only work for one of them. So you need to think about that if you're running multiple eBusiness Suite instances. We can have some solutions for that if you're interested. Then budgets. So there is no automatic sync of budget data stored in eBusiness Suite to the cloud, but we do provide a spreadsheet loader, or if you prefer, we have a web service to load budgets. So you can integrate from a budgeting system into the cloud and do all your budget versus actual reporting. So budgets are supported, but we do not have an automated sync from eBusiness Suite to load the budgets. I mentioned earlier hierarchies. We do an initial load from eBusiness Suite, but on an ongoing basis, you need to maintain them directly in the cloud. And then a few things that we do not sync from the cloud, just to call them out. Balance level reporting currencies, so your translated ledgers won't go over, but you can create those in the cloud and run the translation process in the cloud. We don't do account aliases, we don't do cross-validation rules, and as hopefully most of your transacting is still happening in eBusiness Suite, that should not be a concern, but it's just something I want to call out. And then users and user security. So the users, you will have to go and set up the users and assign the security to them again in the cloud. We don't carry over any of that data security, or any user setup at all does not get automatically synced from eBusiness Suite. So that's a task that you'll have to do. So now I'm going to hand back to Mohan, and Mohan is going to talk a little bit about some other features of the service and also what JGlobal will help you get this running. So Mohan, back over to you.
Thank you, David. That was really nice, and I guess crisp enough to give us a good idea about what we have as an overview. So as David had mentioned, I think in one of the earlier slides, that when you do the sync and when you do the implementation, you apply some patches and you get some relevant configurations that you need to do. And what it does is it does create for you, based on some of the configuration you've done while setting this up, it does create for you some sample reports. And I would actually say sample reports kind of in parentheses or in quotes, because those sample reports are actual reports that you probably could use. But about 50% of the people will probably try to use those, and like David said, it's a starting point. And you can look at those to see how you would like your existing reports or the additional reports that you build should look like, but they are just a starting point. So they create some of the P&L and the income statement reports for you. What Jade would provide you, and what we think is a good enough package to proper to most of the people who are doing this implementation and who go forward with Sparks as a solution for the reporting, will be that we include these specific reports, which are listed out here on the slide deck, as out-of-the-box deliverables to you as part of the implementation. What happens is that these are primarily reports that most companies will require to have as part of their reporting package. So we kind of provide them out of the box with your existing chart of accounts. The reason why these don't come out of the box is because your chart of accounts and your hierarchy is something that will design and define how these reports will be written and how they will look. So it's important to kind of look at your hierarchy as well and then build these reports. So we build them as a deliverable after the implementation is started and as part of that process. This is how those sample reports would look like. We've picked this up. We've done an implementation in-house for ourselves. We've used Vision as our basis to do this, and we built these reports to show you how they would look like. They don't need to absolutely look like these, but this is what we start with. You could actually have whatever reports you want. Like David said, there are some phenomenal tools that you could use. FR Studio is one of them, which is for those of you who've used Oracle EBS for a long time. It's actually FSGs on steroids. That's what FR Studio is. It's a Hyperion product, and so is SmartView, and both of them allow you whatever mechanisms that they actually provide. So FR Studio is an FSG on steroids tool, and SmartView is primarily analytical tool. So you would actually use that as a plugin from Excel, drag and drop down your hierarchies, and then report off of that and analyze off of that. You can actually open your FR Studio report, which looks something like this, into Excel and use SmartView on that same report as well. There's a mechanism to do that. So when you actually generate and publish your FR Studio reports, if you are on the system and you're linked in, you can't do this on a tablet. You have to be actually on a laptop or something like that to be able to use the functionality of opening it up in Excel and being able to use the Smart View capabilities within an FR Studio report. What do we provide? And as partners, where we add value is obviously the reporting that we just showed you is what we give you out of the box as part of the implementation. We also provide you finance SMEs who actually can help you with your structure of your hierarchy, how best to build that if you don't have one in EBS, which is functional or which is operational for you. So most people have a hierarchy which is probably out of date or not up to date in the most recent scheme of things, and they dump everything out into Excel and then do their reporting out of Excel. This allows you to do one of the two things. Build a hierarchy which is kind of static for one version. You have multiple versions that you can use in the cloud. You can use any one of those probably generated reports or generated analysis. We provide you with people who have the knowledge of how these hierarchies should be built, how they will enable you to provide really reports. We also, like I said, give you those 5 reports. Reports are primarily because, like David said, this is something that we expect you to be up and running and using in the shortest possible time. So we give you some reports to start off with, and we actually can build additional reports if you need to. The enabler for us is that we expect you to get trained on Smart View and FR Studio, and you have the capability to actually write your own reports, especially in Smart View. But if there are complex reports that are required, we can actually do that for you. Obviously, that will be an additional time element that will go into that. Plus, we also provide you training, like I said, on how to use the cloud, account monitor, allocations, consolidation aspects, FR Studio, as well as Smart View. We provide you training on how to do that. We also allow and enable you to do other consolidation processes. So you have, like David said, this connects and has a sync mechanism with one EBS instance. What if you had multiple EBS instances? What if you had other sources of data that you actually use to consolidate before you report to your managerial staff or your executive? We allow you to build processes which will allow you to pull this data in, get them into the cloud reporting platform, and then enable you to do the reporting using the same tools that we've already used in the initial rollout for you to do that. Plus, budgets are not synced from EBS, so we also have the capability to help you with the budget, either from Excel or either from another budgeting might have in-house. We can actually enable you to use integration to get that in. So we could help you with that. Plus, you know, help with building the multiple hierarchies and being able to use that. So there are some prerequisites that you need to do, and I think David went through a few of them already in the discussions that he had and the presentation slides that he covered before. So there is a patch that you need to apply. It is only available for versions 12.1.3 and above. There is a slight difference in the architecture and the framework that 12.1.3 uses over 12.2.4. So there is a slight difference in what kind of patches you might have. But you will put those two in, and you will actually have the ability to configure, connect to the cloud instance, and you can go there. There are some pre-validation scripts. So one of the things that is important to note is that in the historical sense of the use of Oracle applications, you have been able to build hierarchies which have had overlaps, which have had some non-traditional ways of managing hierarchies. Unfortunately, some of those will come back to bite you if you actually go down the path of using the cloud reporting service. So there are scripts and there are some processes and validations that we would do prior to we actually start the configuration and the sync with the cloud, because in case those disconnects exist, the sync process actually fails and you are not able to get the information into the cloud. So we provide you with some initial review process that makes sure that we change or we identify what needs to be rectified before we can push this up to the cloud. There are also some validation scripts that Oracle has provided which forces and identifies some technical data-related artifacts that might make the load fail. We obviously have some configuration steps that need to be done both in the EBS and the cloud version. And then one of the key elements that you need to make a choice about are what kind of web services that you will use. And that entirely depends on your security setup within your IT infrastructure, which decides whether you would use a proxy host or without a proxy. And that's primarily not something that you as a user or as a person utilizing the functionalities within this tool would be concerned with, but I'm sure there will be somebody in the background in IT who will make the call on how this should be done. Some of the activities that you need to think about for implementation, obviously the EBS patching configuration and the setup. You need to rewrite the reports. There is no mechanism to actually migrate any of your FSG reports into this new tool. That's primarily because the FSG functionality and the new tools are so diametrically hard that there is no migration path. A lot of people, and including we, will tell you, oh yeah, don't worry about it, we'll get you the reports in FR Studio. We will just rewrite them. We can also help you with and start processes about loading budgets and additional hierarchies. We'll help you with training the end users or maybe train the super users, whichever works for you, conducting the UAT and the user credentials and security will help you with what you need to do, and then we'll migrate the reports, the budgets, the hierarchies, and all of this will migrate to production. The configuration obviously will have to be done in both the places. You will probably run through multiple cycles of testing, at least a couple, and then you will go live. All of this ideally should not last you more than anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks. You have excellently clean data. You could actually be up and running within the week. If you have some issues with the data that needs to be cleaned up beforehand, you'll probably take 2 or 3 weeks to go through with the initial availability of the cloud reporting service. And then if you go through a testing cycle, you'll probably require 1 more week. So within a month, you should be up and running and be able to harness the benefits of using the cloud reporting service. Now, where do you get information from? You'll actually get it from most of it is available online on My Oracle support. Metalink for some of the older people, but My Oracle support for all the people who join now. The Oracle Partner Network, which is available to the partners. You will probably have a partner who will be helping you with this implementation unless you choose to do it on your own. Not that it cannot be done, but there are some idiosyncrasies that you need to be thinking about, and that could be what the partner or the implementation partner would help you with. And then you can also obviously reach out to us. There is an email here on the slide deck which you can actually reach out to, and we'll be happy to get back to you with any more information that you need.
Thank you, David and Mohar, for delivering a great presentation. And to our audience, it has been great. It's a full house today. Thank you very much for attending the webinar. And if you have any questions or want to know more about our solutions and services, please email us at marketing@jadeglobal.com. We'll help out with any query you have. And thank you once again for attending the webinar. Have a wonderful day, guys. Thank you.